I will say too, I think the suffering in silence sometimes is truly in silence. You're not talking about it at all. One of the other things that I was reflecting as you were talking about was the parents that are sharing their situation and people are saying, go get help or offering suggestions, but then they're going and suffering in silence even after that.
I speak what they fear to say. I don't kneel, I don't fade away. I'm the storm they avoid to face. The unmasked truth in a world of grace.
Hi, friends and family, and welcome back to another episode of Pam and the Purple Couch podcast. So we've talked about what happens when rewards don't work. We've talked about punishment procedures, what's the good, what's the bad. Loki even touched base on making sure that your children are not afraid of you. But what happens when all our tools don't work? What happens when everything you have tried just doesn't seem to be working? We have that happen a lot in our schools because most of the times when our children get to us and our parents get to us, they're already in crisis. So what happens when you have a family crisis at home? What is it when the kid is in the meltdown stage? When you've tried everything, when you've tried recognition, when you've tried reward, and at this point you just don't know what else to do? Well, that's what we're going to take and help you with today. What to do when you don't see the answers, when you don't know where else to go. It's a big one.
This is a big one.
You know, we see it all the time. We talk about how we have to de-escalate our parents first to get them out of crisis mode when we have an intake of a new kid, whether it's a clinical kid or whether it's an academic kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even in our own sit back and let's have a little chit chat about this client, that client. I think it's funny because I can sit and pick up a kid instantly and be like, oh my goodness, do you remember when he started? Oh my goodness, that was just 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, look at that change in that kid. And the reason I want to start our conversation with that is because I want to tell our families, please remember that it is only a moment. This is not the way life is going to be for the rest of your life. Even if you do have a highly aggressive child. And I'm talking to the moms and dads of autistic kids that are not getting the benefit of understanding a difference between a high-functioning autistic child and a low-functioning, maladaptive, I'm punching mom or dad every single day type of child in the house. Because it's you, mom and dad, that I'm talking to today. The parents that don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. Or if they do, it's another train coming after them. I'm talking to you today, moms and dads, that don't know where's the hope, where's the next step, and where do we go? You know, even in those severe cases that we've seen, most of the time when they're in that high-level crisis, we can get them out of that afterwards and then be like, okay, let's breathe through because now we can put strategies in place.
Yeah.
But there are going to be times, you know, we joke about it, that you're going to want to strangle, choke, and just tap out yourself and be like, okay, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done. Maybe I'm not made up for this. Maybe I wasn't supposed to be a mom. Maybe I wasn't supposed to be a dad. Or are my kids acting this way because of me?
Mm-hmm.
We see that in high functioning, middle functioning, low functioning, all of the A, B, C, D, E, F, Gs. We see it in parents.
Yeah.
At the same time, we also see it in overachieving parents. We see it in neurotypical parents that are, oh, well, he has to be on A honor roll because he can't get a scholarship to get into college because you're thinking about where he's going to be at 23 when he's still 13.
Mm-hmm.
And life has required us to be that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, it's the shaping that our government and our environment have put on us as adults that we have now enforced that pattern of behavior onto our children. And it's got to stop somewhere.
And, you know, the parents that are listening, I mean, we've reflected on this couch many, many times about our own, what do we call them? Lack of a better term, moments,
Yes.
right? Where we lost our cool or we didn't approach a certain situation the right way. And, you know, we got a loss of ourselves. We got a sense of ourselves. And, you know, the whole subject matter of today's episode is, what do you do when nothing else works? Well, sometimes you just got to take a big pause, right? Just take a beat, right? And what my kids say is take a beat, Dad, because the world in most cases is not shattering. Nobody died, no, to be morbid about it. But my teenage daughter said, "Did someone die? Nobody's dead. You don't like what you got. You don't
Right.
like this meltdown. You don't like this screaming fit. You
Correct.
don't like whatever. But everybody's okay,
Correct.
right?" And it takes that moment of just pausing, and it's hard to do in that moment.
Well, we have our own pattern of behavior, our own programming that we have had instilled in us of our parents and our parents before that, our grandparents. This is all learned behavior.
Yep.
Society-wise, it's learned behavior. And it's funny because we can compare generations, and the ones of us that had hard parents, we made easy kids. And the ones of us that had, the easy life, we're harder on our kids because we didn't want them to be spoiled, right?
Right.
So we're always trying, but it's finding that balance.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes what we have to tell parents, and again, this conversation is not for all parents because sometimes a family may not be able to relate to what I'm going to say. But I've talked to, over the last 15 years, 12 years of running the school, parents that have locked themselves in their bedroom because they've been afraid of their child at nighttime. Parents that lock themselves up away from their young adult or 10, 11-year-old that can do damage. We have talked to those families.
Yeah.
And I want to bring that to the surface because, we do have all the world of social media and we do have this overflowing of, oh, let me show you my autistic kid and he's singing and dancing and he's coloring, he's doing magic shows. Okay, well, that's great. That's one autistic child. But we also have the families where that's not it, that the families are getting beat up, that the drywall is coming off the walls, that the child's level of aggression becomes, do I put my child in a home for the best well-being of my child? Not for me as a parent, but what do I do to make sure that my child is safe? And so am I.
Yep.
That's the tough decision. And that's honestly today, it's what I want to talk about, Manny, because I don't think those parents have enough of us talking to them.
Yeah. And, we do talk about, I know we talk about it a lot, is having the tough conversation with the parent. And what does that look like when you're in that situation, when you have a child that has that much behavior going on and you've tried all of the different tactics and nothing's working? We just talked about it in preparation for today, just in brief conversation. Like, it's the difference between feeling like a single parent or being a single parent and being a solo parent.
Yes.
And if you are in the situation where whether you're a single parent or you have a spouse, but maybe you two are not working together as a team and you're kind of single parenting it, there's a difference between being a single parent where you have control, where you are working really hard and you're working in tandem with your child and everything's going fine, but you're in 100% control,
Yes.
versus being a solo parent and you're stuck and you don't know what to do. And the best advice that we give those parents is it's time to seek help.
Yes.
It's time to reach out, get some professional help if that's what's necessary, whether it is an ABA or speech or medical.
Well, that's what I wanted to say is a lot of times what our parents need to understand is many of our children don't just come with one diagnosis. There's multiple. And autism may be one of them, but you may have a child that not only has autism, but oppositional defiant disorder. So everything you tell them to do mentally, they can't. It is a retraining of the brain. So then what do you have? Then you just have more aggression. And then if you take a child that has autism, that has ODD and is nonverbal and has no way to express themselves, well, think about how frustrated we get when people don't understand us.
Right.
Then it's I'm beating the walls because I don't know what else to do or I don't know how to calm down.
Right.
So when parents are seeing that, the first thing we want to do is we want to jump in. Moms and dads, from a professional standpoint, we have teams within our buildings and our clinics called crisis intervention teams. These teams have been specially trained in crisis prevention in order to handle aggressive physical behavior. Parents, it's okay to go get that training. The videos that we see on social media and on television now, especially as we talk about the increase in the awareness of autism, we have parents that don't have the coping skills. We have parents that don't have the physical restraint skills. And how many of these parents are, because of social shame, afraid to go ask for help?
Yeah, definitely.
It may be your taekwondo physical, you may need that. Hey, I need to protect my son so he doesn't hurt me or himself.
Yep.
I need to protect my daughter because she doesn't understand how to de-escalate and she becomes very physically aggressive. How can I restrain her? Don't cause myself physical damage or her. What do I do? Professionals can help you here. There are guidance and there are systems and restraint holds that are in place that will protect you as the parent. But there's no one out there telling this to our parents.
Right.
You talk about the suffering in silence. That's what these parents are dealing with.
Yep.
And they're getting punched in the face. They're getting mentally and physically beat down because there's also the verbal that comes with it. We've heard it. How many times have we had some of our high aggressive kids tell us that we're everything but a nice person?
Yeah.
Language that we didn't even think they knew.
No, right. I will say too, I think the suffering in silence sometimes is truly in silence. You're not talking about it at all. One of the other things that I was reflecting as you were talking about was the parents that are sharing their situation and people are saying, go get help or offering suggestions, but then they're going and suffering in silence even after that.
Well,
And
you made a
that's-
great, and I just want to tune back. Manny said something, and I don't know if you all caught on to this. So we have got single parents. We have co-parenting.
Co-parenting, yep.
But then I like this term that you stated, solo parenting.
Solo parenting.
And in this situation, we have a lot of that happening
Yes.
because what you find is in children with these high level of aggressive behaviors, the conversation comes that one of the parents is looking for help. We can't handle this. The other parent is, don't you tell anybody.
Right.
This is a family issue. They'll take our kid away. We can't call Child Protective Services. We don't know who to call for help. And if they know that JoJo is beating up on us, we're going to lose JoJo.
Right.
So now you've got not only the child and the situation, but now you've got some relationship issue that's going on because you all are not seeing eye to eye.
Right.
And that's when you really need professional assistance to come in and help. Not just to mediate between your family members, but an outside perspective that's not so emotionally attached.
And one of the things that I was thinking about as we're talking is, so as a board certified behavior analyst, one of the things that I always thought about when I first started in this field, eons ago now, I was going in homes and in schools, and people would ask me all the time, like, how does somebody get your service? And so back then, it was basically three different ways. One was the teacher, right? Who's observing, talking to parents every day, sees things that nobody else really sees, who's spending 6 to 8 hours with your child, and they put in a referral.
Yes.
The second one was the medical doctors, so pediatricians of the world. So as a parent, you got to go see the doctor at some point. So you start talking to the doctor. My child's doing this or that or whatever. And it's a safe place because it's your medical doctor, right? They're not
Correct.
going to necessarily call 911 on you, right? They're there to help you.
Correct.
And even in the most egregious situations, they're still looking to help you.
Absolutely.
So we used to get
and
a
they
lot.
understand the diagnoses. They
They
understand
understand
what
the medical part.
Correct. They understand, okay, this child may have XYZ and autism.
Mm-hmm.
This child may have, Rhett's disease
Yep.
and what is the next one? Fragile X. I mean, I'm going through all the things
Yeah,
that we
big-
see all the time.
Yeah.
And these are things that are typically side by side with autism,
Yep.
but can make a night and day difference for the child.
And And these doctors, that's what they're there for. So these referrals that we would get from doctors, and we still get them from pediatricians, I mean, it's just part of the deal, is intended to help.
Yes.
Even the solo parent, like you're going to the doctor, reach out. But the other one was, they're not, I don't know if they're even around anymore, Children's Home Society.
They are.
They may be called something else.
Yeah, I was going to say it depends on the state that you're
Yeah.
in. They have a different term for it depending on the state.
So
but
essentially, it's a group, it's an organization that's run by the state. And it's a mix of psychologists or social workers, ex-teachers, even volunteers
Yes.
do this. And their whole mission, their whole goal is to help families get services. That's it. That's all they do. They're not the provider.
Yes.
They're just, I used to call them the Oprah Winfrey of services for families. They just bring everybody together to help
So-
the family.
For kids that we're speaking about, ADP, which is the Agency for Developmental,
Okay.
Services, they would come in and help to be like, okay, well, we have these available options, and is like the gateway to go, okay, here you go.
Yep,
Where
here's
can we
this
find
resource,
it?
yep.
But it's first being able to be confident enough to ask.
And that's where it starts. That's
And
for sure.
you hit on that. And I think about how many times we see the after effect of a child or a parent or a loved one that got to the point that they didn't ask for help. And so they did something to where they can't ask for help ever again.
Yeah.
And then the effects that it has on the child, the effects it has on the family, the effects it has on the community that are around them.
Yeah.
So we want you all to know, if you can hear our voices, you're never alone. We are an email away. We are a text message away, a chat post away, that you're not alone going through this. You know, not only can we take and look at social media as the hindrance to us, but it also has allowed people to know they're not going through this alone. All right, families, we'll be right back after this special message. Are you looking for an alternative to public school? 𝗵𝗁 Academy is your home, where every child is looked at as an individual. Come to 𝗵𝗁 Academy, take your tour today, and you will see the difference. 𝗵𝗁 Academy at www.puzzleboxacademy.com. And now, back to the Purple Couch podcast. So, yeah, your kid may look cute with the magic hat on, and you know, he's an autistic kid and he sings and dances. Well, that's one autistic kid. And it's not the majority of them.
Right.
The majority of them are the families struggling at home, afraid to take their kid out in public. Or they're in an area that doesn't have access to resources, doesn't have access to therapeutic treatment. Or they're in a society because of cultural standing that's a shame to the family that their child isn't developing typically.
Yep.
You know, there are all types of things that our families are dealing with. And some of them you can't see as an outsider just by looking at someone. And I bring this up is because if you are at the grocery store and if you're at that, you know, big, large shopping store, and the reason I'm trying not to say the name, you know, but we've got several of them, and you see a family in crisis and you see a kid that you may look at and say, oh, that kid just needs an ass whooping. You're only seeing a snapshot. You're seeing your cell phone picture take one moment, a pause that family is dealing with. So instead of being judgmental, offer some empathy to that family. Hey, is there anything I can do to help?
Yeah.
Nope, we got this. And keep going. Don't give your 2 cents, but offer compassion and empathy. Don't point, because that's the other part that these families are dealing with is the shame when you don't even know what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
You don't know how many times that mom or dad could have been punched in the throat or the gut before even getting to the store,
Yeah.
or what courage it took them to bring their child in the first place.
Yeah.
So if you're in that situation, what if you're afraid to ask for help, Manny?
Yeah. I think, you know, if you're afraid to ask for help, one of the things that we have at our disposal that we didn't have many years ago was the world of social media and the internet. So what do I mean by that? Sometimes what we're really truly afraid of in asking for help is that face-to-face social, whatever you want to call it, social interaction of
judgment.
going in front of somebody and
Yeah.
saying, I need help. It's not comfortable to do it if you're an employee to your boss. It's not comfortable for your spouse to a spouse.
Or kids raising their hands
Or
in the
kids raising their
classroom.
hand,
We can
you know?
go back to kindergarten.
Yeah. So that whole behavior of even asking for help is its own phenomenon, right? But in this context, you're struggling with something real.
Yeah.
Real struggle. So asking for help and doing it in person, but most likely to somebody you don't really know, right? Even your own pediatrician. How well do you really know your pediatrician these days?
Right.
So I have found solace in talking to those parents who are really stuck and saying, well, there's online forums. There's people that are you don't have to physically see, but can still provide you a direction.
Correct.
And we didn't have that 25 years
Well,
ago.
that's why we did our circle platform.
Right.
Because when we had talked to families, what they got bombarded with social media was the judgment. Just like I told you about the one guy that was like, oh, breathe. Yeah, that's bullshit.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. I went to go look and no friends, no followers. I'm like, okay, you just are a hater. But we have that in social media. So look for forums of like-minded individuals.
Right.
Look at other platforms. We use the Circle platform. There's also, Mighty Networks. There's all of these little tiny individualized, non-meta social platforms of like-minded individuals that don't have the hate that you're afraid of.
Absolutely.
So find those circles. The other part that whether for me would be if you were a spiritual person, rest into your faith. And I say that because I am a very spiritual driven person. And so for me, it would always be, remember, you're not alone.
Yep.
The biggest illusion for all of us is that we have been so scared into being so isolated and alone when we're really not.
Yep.
But if you are not a spiritual person, then what I would take and tell you to do is fall on the science. Fall on your biology. You understand that you love your child. But you understand, too, that if you're knocked out cold on the floor, you can't make sure that that child is safe and in a well-being situation. So we first have to take and protect ourselves. So it goes down to remembering the airplane. How many times have we flown on an airplane or watched a movie with the stewardess? If the airbags release, please secure your air mask before helping those around you. We've all heard that, right? But how many times do we actually put our air mask on? Normally, as parents, and I'm speaking from my own advice here, is that there's nothing left to give when we realize that we are completely depleted. If you find yourself in that bathroom crying, that means you're depleted, mom or dad or caregiver, aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa. So how do we get and notice ourselves before we get depleted? And it's becoming aware and to give yourself some grace. So if you don't have your spirituality to fall back on, then fall back on the science that you have to regulate your own system before you can help regulate those that are around you. So if that means that your child is going ham, hitting the holes in the wall, if you do not know how to physically restrain that child and it would impede your own physical safety, then it is best for you to let them do the damage until they can calm down. And if that means that you have to call 911 because the physical level of aggression is so high, police are trained to understand this. Don't fall just on the social media, but be honest with the response team. 911, what is your emergency? My son is neurodivergent and he is having a meltdown. He's in a full tantrum. He cannot physically regulate himself and I'm too small to help. I need your assistance. What that tells the officers is, number one, you're aware of the situation. You are aware of the medical situation of the child, so they don't come in looking at as DCS, Child Protective Services, because you have already put yourself present and aware, and you know that it is too much for you to physically handle. But you've got to be able to pick up the phone.
Yep.
and pick up the phone before you are in a situation where you have reversed that and you have been the aggressor.
Right.
And I think that goes back to what Loki was saying.
Yeah.
Is you want to make sure that it's with love, with boundaries, but without fear. Because fear only breeds more fear. And that's my love to my parents that are going through it, because I've been there. I know what it's like when you feel alone and you feel isolated and you don't have anyone that you think understands your situation.
Yeah, and I hate to add, because that's such a beautiful way to end it, but you said something that resonated with me, because I'm thinking of cousins of mine. And you said, you're never alone. And they have 2 children with autism, and they're both over the age of 18 now. And one of the things they always taught me over the last several years is it's never too late.
Mm.
And they dealt with the aggression, the proper restructuring, all the things you've already highlighted. And they never gave up, but they just remembered it was never too late. So even in those moments, those toughest times that they felt like they've about to give up, said, nope, it's not too late. And they did it at the ages from 6, 8, 10, 12, all the way to the age of 18. And so I love that, that combination is you're not alone and it's never too late.
Yeah. Every day's a new day of possibilities. I'm going to send some love, because this is just coming up in my heart. Jordan Peterson has been going through some health issues. And so I want to take a moment to send him some love and some gratitude as I quote him before we end today. And he likes to say that I am a better version of myself today than I was yesterday.
Mm.
And it's funny because it goes right into what Doc says with heart math. Loki's quote, I'm doing the best I can. And sometimes moms and dads, that's all we need to do, is just the best we can. So guys, if you need any personal assistance, Dr. Manny and I will both make ourselves available. info@pamelafer.com. You are not alone. We are here for you. So moms and dads, from our couch to your couch. We'll see you all again next time. See you soon.
I speak what they feel.